Here's what you need to know.
From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
All right, what's up? It's now 3 o'clock, Chad here. College football playoff rankings are out. Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and FSU are your top four. Oregon is the first team out of 5, followed by Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama. Pac-12 title game Friday night down in Vegas. Kickoff at 5 on ABC. Oregon now sits as a 9.5-point favorite. The critical SEC title game Saturday at 1 on CBS. Georgia favored by 6. Michigan will meet Iowa for the Big Ten championship, and FSU takes on Louisville for the ACC title. Oregon State has a new head coach, Trent Bray. He'll take over for Jonathan Smith. Most recently was their defensive coordinator, and like Smith, an OSU alum. From the NFL, Aaron Rodgers has been cleared to practice 11 weeks after surgery to repair a ruptured Achilles. The Blazers back in action tomorrow. They're in Cleveland to meet the Cavs. That tip at 4, game day at 1:30. It's right here on your home of the Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio. We got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad coming at you right now.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
Here comes Lillard going the other direction, top of the arc, going to fire up another three, and this time he sinks it straight on. Dame Lillard with a Michelob Ultra 3 to pull Milwaukee back to within 1.
Gets it back underneath to Bridges, but can't get it the ball. Hartenstein with a rebound. Finds Hart. Coast to coast, glass, and in.
We're asking now pro players to play college football, and that's the biggest difference I see. This is way more checkers now than it is chess.
Can't take it anymore, Godfather.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad starts now.
All right, what's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive, Dwight and Chad. Dwight is not in studio today as he prepares to make his trip down to Las Vegas. He will join the show coming up here in about 5 or 6 minutes. Today is a very, very special show for multiple reasons, and I will explain why coming up here in about 10 minutes. So I'm excited about today. And you're going to find out about the work I'm doing with Cascade High School down in Turner, Oregon. I had a chance to go down there yesterday. I went to the doctor last night. I'm not going to talk about that. But I'm glad I went. And I should have listened to Dwight to begin with and just hit up his wife, Nancy. But I don't like to bother people and ask them questions about the work that they do when they're not at work. I don't roll like that. So a lot of things going on, but I appreciate your time. You can join us on YouTube. Always go to youtube.com and pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620. All of our local shows are now live streamed. Make sure you click and subscribe, and you can join us in studio here. Check out the studios, be a part of the group chat, the whole deal. That's youtube.com. I want to start out, and I'll get to Trent Bray in Oregon State here in a moment, but I want to start out with the college football playoff rankings, which were released last night. Duck fans probably feeling pretty good about themselves right now. Georgia's number 1, no surprise. 2-time defending champ. They haven't lost a game, and most recently have 3 wins over Ole Miss, over Missouri, and over Tennessee. Michigan, number 2, coming off the win over Ohio State. They've been dominant throughout the year. Their resume is, in my mind, fairly weak, but I don't doubt they're one of the best teams in the country, and they knocked down Ohio State again. Jim Harbaugh owns Ryan Day. How do you think it feels to be Jim Harbaugh right now? Everyone hates him. The Big Ten wants him fired, and yet he's just kicking everyone's ass. It probably doesn't suck to be Jim Harbaugh right now, or a lot better to be Harbaugh than Ryan Day. Washington, number 3, coming off the shaky win over Washington State, but they haven't lost a game since last October. They went through the conference unbeaten, and now they've got a date with Oregon in the Pac-12 title game on Friday. And their resume is pretty strong. And right now, Florida State at number 4. No disrespect to Florida State or anyone in the state of Florida or the Seminoles, but I think you and I and everyone else knows Florida State is not one of the 4 best teams in the country. They're not one of the 4 best teams in the country. They don't deserve to compete for a national championship. And on top of that, they don't have their starting quarterback. And the committee, their number 1 goal, as they've stated time and time again, is to find the 4 best teams and put them in the playoff so that we have the games that really matter. And yet, they never do. Cincinnati made it. Florida State, if they win on Saturday, is going to make it. But they're not one of the 4 best. I don't care if they're undefeated or not. You trying to tell me right now that Florida State, who sits in front of Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama, is better than any of those schools? No, they're not. And yet, if they beat Louisville, I think they're going to make it because the committee will say they're more deserving. They're a Power 5 school that hasn't lost a game. We can't possibly keep them out. Yes, you can. Your job is to make sure you have the 4 best teams. I listened to Joel Klatt, and he made a very good point. The College Football Playoff Committee is made up of 13 individuals, administrators, you have a couple of business leaders, former athletic directors. None of these 13 who are part of the committee work full-time in college football, and yet those are the 13 people that get to determine which 4 teams play for a championship. And on top of that, after the BCS era, they reduced the amount of computer factors that are utilized to determine the top teams in the country. So one thing I can guarantee you, and I want chaos because I want the committee to be forced to make tough decisions. So when they don't, we can criticize them. Because Florida State getting in is ridiculous. I don't care if they're undefeated or not. So the big question is this. What if Alabama beats Georgia, which with Nick Saban is quite possible, and all of the other favorites win? That's the big question. What if Georgia loses and then Michigan, Florida State, Oregon, and Texas all win? That's really what you Duck fans care about. That's the scenario I care about. What's going to happen under those circumstances? And here's another question. Do you really think if Alabama sitting at number 8 beats Georgia, the number 1 team in the country, that they would keep a one-loss SEC champ out of the playoff? I understand that no one at 8 with 1 week to play has jumped up into the top 4, but there's no way they're not going to put Bama in. And you know what? If Georgia loses, there's no way they're not going to put Georgia in. So I agree with Klatt. I think if that happens, the scenario, the doomsday scenario, Alabama wins, and then Michigan, Florida State, Oregon, and Texas all win, I think the committee's going to put 2 SEC teams in. I think it'll be Bama. I think it'll be Georgia, Michigan. And here's the real kicker. If Alabama's in, they have to put Texas in as a one-loss conference champ because they got the win at Tuscaloosa. So I guess what I'm telling you, Duck fans, never trust the committee. Nothing is assured. And pray. You need to get on your knees right now and beg the good Lord above to let Kirby Smart and Georgia take care of Alabama. Because if Bama wins, you're screwed. The Pac-12 is screwed. And you know it and I know it. Do you really want it to come down to the committee making a decision? You don't want that at all. Go Dogs! All right. Joining us right now is my partner, the Godfather Dwight Jaynes. Godfather, what's going on, my friend?
Happy to be with you, Chad.
Well, it's good to hear your voice. I'm excited for you because you're going down to the Pac-12 title game. That doesn't suck. Good gracious.
Well, I'm looking forward to a great game, looking forward to a great facility that I've heard a lot about. I haven't been to that stadium, but most of all, the game. I expect a really good competitive game.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Let me ask you a question real quick, and then we'll get to Trent Bray, the new coach at Oregon State. Mm-hmm. Do you think the committee would keep a one-loss Alabama out as SEC champ, even if they're at number 8 right now? Seriously.
Of course not. Of course they will. I mean, look, you got it right, Chad. I'm afraid that it's more likely if Georgia loses to Bama that 2 SEC teams get in. They'll send Georgia and they'll send Bama.
Yeah.
And they'll just be so proud of themselves that they took care of the SEC just one last time.
They'll pat each other on the back and say, good work, committee, good work.
Yeah.
That's crazy, though. All 13, none are full-time in college football. Isn't that wild? Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I think their meetings should have been done in public. I think there should be cameras in their meeting, and it should be everybody should get to watch it so we can hear all the biases play out, all the BS play out, find out who knows something about it and who doesn't, because there's people on that committee who have no clue what they're doing. They're just kind of going along with the crowd.
Gosh. Yeah, I think it would be alarming if we did get the video, which is a great idea, by the way. We would be alarmed at how much they don't know about the teams around the country.
Absolutely. It would be hilarious.
All right. I mean, think about this, Godfather. You and I do this for a living, and we can't watch all the games every week, right?
No, it's impossible.
Yeah.
It really is.
And you tried. We have tried the last few weeks to watch every game. It's still impossible.
Yeah, I know it. If you have people who have real jobs, unlike us, where we don't really have real jobs, we have time to actually watch those games. These guys actually, most of them work for a living, and there's no way they have time to watch all the games. No way.
All right. Trent Bray's the new head coach at Oregon State. Why was he the hire? Why'd they choose Bray?
Well, I think they wanted continuity, and I think that was important to them in this time. They have recruits out there. They have players they want to retain, and I think this gives them their best chance to do that. And to give Trent Bray credit, I mean, he has been, no lie, he's been considered one of the top young up-and-coming defensive coordinators in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, he's legit as a defensive coordinator. And if you don't give him the head coaching job, he's probably not going to stay. So you at least retain something on that side of the football. Now, what you need to do, and he needs to do, is go out and find a bright, young offensive coordinator. I don't think you're going to bring in, someone with a lot of experience in the coordinator job.
Yeah.
You might have to take somebody in their first go around, but if he picks the right guy, that's okay. There's competent people out there. You just have to know them and find them. And I do think the Beavers, whatever iteration we see next season, after they lose players and add a few players, I think they'll probably have a good season, one loss wise, because I don't think their schedule is going to be exactly a test. They're going to end up with odds and ends on that schedule, Mountain West teams, they'll probably end up with a better record than Michigan State has. That would be my guess, because Michigan State's playing a really tough schedule, and the Beavers will not. I don't think there's any question about that.
All right, what are you more excited about this weekend? The Broncos vying for win number 6 in a row against the Texans, or the Pac-12 title game?
Chad, sorry about that, but I got to go with the Pac-12 championship game. I can't go with your team this weekend. Some weekends, yeah, maybe. And that will be a good game, no question about it. Good quarterback duel, and Broncos on the road. It's a game I'd like to see. I'm pretty sure I will see it, but no, I got to go with that Friday night game. Sorry,
I'm just checking.
I know you're disappointed. You're disappointed in me, right?
I know. I'm excited right now. Yeah, I'm happy about everything that's going on. All right. By the way, I'm giving a high five to Dr. Nancy right now, because I should have listened to you, Godfather, which is something I have probably said time and time again. But I talked to her. She was brave enough to look at the picture of my Battissimo.
Oh, she's seen a lot worse, believe me.
Oh, yeah, she has. And that's saying something. But she made me feel much more comfortable about my situation, and she was very gracious on the phone and giving me wise advice. So a big props to Dr. Nancy.
Yeah, you'll be on the comeback trail pretty soon from that.
Oh, that's good.
I think you're going to be fine. At least it's not something that's going to kill you or something. I mean, you can put up with some little irritation once in a while.
Well,
you work with me.
Yeah.
You really do well with irritation.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, Godfather, thanks for popping on, brother. Enjoy your trip down to Las Vegas, and you and I will talk soon.
All right, Chad. Have a great show.
Thanks, buddy. There you go. There's the Godfather, Dwight James, joining us. All right, when we come back, I'll explain why today is freaking awesome on the Rip City Drive. Before we reveal which superstars will join us on our iHeartRadio Jingle Ball Tour this year, relive the biggest shows and artists from Jingle Ball's past on our iHeartRadio exclusive Jingle Ball playlist. Open your free iHeartRadio app and search Jingle Ball to listen from anywhere, anytime.
The Rip City Drive, brought to you by Lazy Boy. What's your strategy for comfort? Here on 620 Rip City Radio. Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
All right, Rip City Drive. Chad doing here, and I'm excited about today's show, a special show. I would call it the Cascade High School takeover of the Rip City Drive. So let me explain what we're doing here. I got my start in radio back in the late 90s in Vancouver at KVAN 1550. And the gentleman, my mentor, and the guy who gave me an opportunity to do what I'm doing today, his name is John Phillips. A lot of you know him. He's one of the godfathers of Portland Sports Talk Radio, was on TV, very well connected at Nike back in the early days, and knew a lot of NBA players and was terrific in the media. Well, I was very thankful to him, and all he ever asked me was, he said, hey, I want you to remember how happy you are right now to have an opportunity to chase your dream, and just remember that, and in the future, you can pay me back by making sure that you take time for any youngster that wants to get into the business, to pursue their dream. I said, no problem, John, I can do that. And so over the course of time, through internships, through speaking to kids and going to different schools, I've always tried to keep that promise to John. And that's one of my missions in what I do in media. And as long as I'm working in sports radio, to work with youngsters to give them an opportunity to pursue their dream if they have interest. So I have a friendship with a gentleman named Justin Lauder. He is a teacher down at Cascade High School, which is in Turner. One of my early radio jobs was covering high school sports for 1460 KCKX. I worked for Don Koss, who used to be a part of Portland Wrestling. He owned a couple of radio stations, and John got me connected with him, and I started calling games for Regis and Staten High School. And both are located in Staten, Oregon. And one of the places I would go to often was Cascade High School in Turner, because Cascade and Staten would play basketball, football every year. So anyways, Justin asked me down, and I've been down a few times to speak to his class to talk about what I do and working in media. Well, I went down a few weeks ago, and I got to thinking, you know what? Talking to a class and explaining what I do, that's one thing. But what really would matter would be giving kids actual experience. And his first class that he teaches of the day is a sports media class. And after I spoke to the class, I said, why don't we get something set up to give the kids an opportunity to do something? And he's like, that's a good idea. So what we came up with was he would take his media class, break everyone up into groups to where they basically would become 6 miniature radio shows. They pick the topics, they construct what they want to talk about, and then we'll record it and give them a chance to be on air. So I went down yesterday, and I got to set up early in the morning down at Cascade High School, and each group came through and recorded their material, and I was interested to see the wide variety of topics that they came up with. It was fun. And so we're going to hear these different groups today on the show, which I think is cool. But first things first, I had a conversation with Justin, and I really had a chance to talk with him in regards to his class and how it goes. And here's how that sounded. All right, Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. I'm very happy now. I'm broadcasting live from Cascade High School today, and I'm joined by a teacher I've become friends with over the years, Justin Lauder. And Justin, good afternoon. Thanks for coming on the show. We're here in your classroom. So first off, what classroom are you in? What class is this that you're teaching right now?
So the title is Sports Broadcasting and Sports Media.
So that's really cool, because I did not have this type of class when I was in school myself. So what are some of the basics that you're trying to teach your students throughout the course of the class?
Yeah, so essentially in the class, I want to give students the opportunity to experience things. Like you said, I didn't have a class like this either when I was here. And so, seeing how sports media has evolved even over the last, 10, 15, 20 years, giving chance for kids to do things like do play-by-play broadcast recordings, podcasting, planning radio segments like we're doing now, giving kids an idea, an outlet to broadcast sports in ways that would translate to possible later careers was kind of the idea. And then we kind of have a second branch this year of broadcasting, our varsity live sports. We just got done with football season. Basketball season is ramping up here. In fact, the first game's tomorrow. So, yeah, taking kind of these skills from the classroom, bringing them into live sporting events through our, a couple of our varsity programs.
That's so terrific. And it's crazy. You and I are a very similar age bracket, but look at the way technology has changed from the time that we were in high school up until now with your class, where kids have access to social media. We've got videos now. There's podcasting, which is prevalent across all platforms. So it's not just radio or traditional television broadcast, but now you've got all these different outlets where you can get involved in sports media on many different levels.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the idea. And eventually, maybe we branch out to something other than sports. Obviously, this elective is focused on sports, but I mean, there's podcasts for just about everything that you can think of that you want to listen to. And so, giving kids kind of those ideas and those, possible career things or even side hustle things that are kind of popular in today's society, is kind of the goal of the class.
All right, so let's explain to our listeners what we did today. So I came down and spoke to your class, and then you and I had a conversation. I thought, you know what? It's fine to come down and speak to kids, but I think the best experience is actual real experience. So I thought, why don't we set it up to where you can get your students to prepare material to broadcast on the Rip City Drive. And I thought we could do this. And so what did you do? You broke them down into groups, kind of explained the direction you gave to your students for what we're doing today.
Sure. So, yeah, we had this conversation, and I have zero professional experience. It's all observation and amateur work. And so, I had them pick their own groups. And then that group had some time to brainstorm different topics. And then I had them break down those topics into usually about 2 subtopics to kind of aim for the 10 to 15 minute mark. And, they were asked to create a structure. So there will be, a host that will intro and outro the segments. Mm-hmm. There will be different times where each person will speak on that topic and bring up their analysis there, and meeting within that time frame. And that's kind of the direction I gave. They had 2 opportunities to run through, one Monday and then one the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And so I'm really looking forward to this opportunity.
That's great. Now, I was here, and you asked the entire class, who wants to go first? And you had no volunteers, right? So now you get to select who's going to go first, and then we'll work through each group.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, Justin, I appreciate you having me down. This is full circle for me because early on in my radio career, I had a chance to cover high school sports for Staten and Regis, and so I called multiple games, basketball and football, right here at Cascade High School. So it's great to come down to the Valley and get a chance to work with your class and your school to get these kids a chance to be on air and to have their voices on the Portland airways for the very first time. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
All right, big thanks to Justin for the conversation. Our first group is what we call Group 5, and the gentlemen who are going to be presenting are Jesse Heath, Garrett Haynes, Chase Grant, and Lucius Lorimar. And they wanted to talk about video games, so let's take a listen to what Group 5 came up with here on the Rip City Drive.
Hello everyone and welcome to Gotham Garage. Today I'm your host, Garrett Haynes, and today's co-host we're having my good friend over here, Jesse Heath, and my 2 other co-hosts, Lucius and Chase. Now, normally we would be talking about sports, but today's going to be very interesting. Today we're going to be talking about, it's about a first-person shooter game. You all know it as Call of Duty. Call of Duty. We'll be talking about the developed history with the MW3 2023 came out, and people have been talking about this game for if it was good or bad. They should have kept the old version a bit better. But the topics we'll be talking about are the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, obviously by me, and then the Advanced Warfare will be talked to by Jesse, my co-host, and then the other 2 co-hosts will be talking by obviously MW 2023, Lucius and Chase. Now, starting off with the MW2 2009, back when Infinity Ward made MW4 Remaster, it was a hit for them and Activision, but when MW2 came out, it was a huge sale just of how the campaign was a huge success and accuracy towards the background and sound, especially of how they had a well planned out actors and whatnot for the campaign and for obviously the NPCs and how they spent time on trying to make it more realistic rather than just just came out of the ordinary. But there are some couple of things that they could have done I would have preferred a bit better. One of them was that obviously Treyarch has been the most known as zombies back in when World at War first came out. Now, when it first came out, people were very excited about it. They always want to play Call of Duty. They've always wanted to play just the zombie of it, and sometimes the campaign. Now, if Infinity Ward and Treyarch have been able to do both of them at the exact same time for that game, I think it would have been a huge success. I mean, huge. But honestly, other than that, they should have added different companies, different characters you can play as, rather than the 75th Ranger Battalion, also Task Force 141, and also towards having that kind of better graphics. I mean, that's what today's people like to do, is just better graphics and whatnot. So with that in mind, now we're going to be talking about Sledgehammer and Advanced Warfare by my good co-host here, Jesse. Now, Jesse, I've heard that Advanced Warfare has been well known for their first time making future games. Can you give us a brief description about this?
Yeah, Advanced Warfare or Sledgehammer Games been really focusing on the really futuristic side of stuff with graphics that are pretty good, and the hover bikes and all that stuff. And there are many different parts, but this game has gotten some intentional or unnecessary hate to it, with the people thinking that it's more like MW2 with the big betrayal at the end, spoiler sort of type deal. With that in mind, but the campaign for this game was pretty good. The multiplayer ain't the best because you can't really play with split screen with 4 screens on it with that. The campaign had some really emotional parts to it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all. Back to you.
Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, it sounds like that is Sledgehammer has been came up with this idea, but they want to focus on more on the multiplayer. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And the same with Infinity War, but Infinity War was focusing on the campaign, the spec ops, not mostly on the multiplayer basically, but people still like playing it either way because that's what they had it back in the early 2009. Now, I'm going to let my two co-hosts here. We're going to start first off with Lucius. Lucius, now, can you please tell us about the MW3 2023 and the 3 developers, including Infinity War, Sledgehammer, and Treyarch, combining their knowledge into one game that Activision sold?
Yes, the new Call of Duty 2023 Modern Warfare 3 has just came out this year, and the developers Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward have tried to make it more arcadey, like the older Modern Warfare 2 and 2009, and the advanced Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The multiplayer in the new one is more compact and simple, with the maps colorful and remastered with the 16 maps.
Thank you, Lucius, for that. Now, Chase, is there anything else you can add about the MW3 2023?
Now, with the addition to a new title in the franchise, developers Sledgehammer Games and Infinity Ward have improved on their mistakes and brought back fan-favorite quality of life improvements that were taken away from last year's game, Modern Warfare 2 2022. These changes have been well received, and some people are even returning to the game, but some are mad that they have to pay $70 for a game that's almost the same as last year.
Thank you much, Chase. Now, we're going to be, I've always been asking people this a lot of times for only COD fans. My question is for you, and then for listeners out there who are listening, is that I know that Activision's been going down recently due to the MW3 and the MW2, but I've always been curious of what people say, and I'll share my experience in a bit. But Jesse, what do you think about that if Activision should keep all the developers together including Infinity War, Sledgehammer, and then Treyarch for the game, or do you think they should give them their separate ways like they did back in the early 2000s? I'm
somewhat on the fence. Like, I think it would turn up as a pretty good game, but it also could turn up as a bad game, like the 2002 MW2. With that in mind, they still could make a pretty good game with the zombies, multiplayer, and the campaign.
Well, so would you say that would you say the one thing you like about the game, basically the MW3 game, is there one thing you like about it, or do you just think they should always make a better game for next year with the 3 developments?
Personally, I never played the game at all, but I've heard that there are some pretty good parts about it, and that they did a better job than they did with the 2002 game.
Okay, thank you much for Jesse. Now we're gonna head towards my other co-host, Lucius. Chase. Now, Chase, can you please tell us about and answer this question for me, please? Do you believe that Activision should keep the 3 developers, Infinity War, Sledgehammer, and Treyarch, for their games coming up, or do you think they should go their own ways, even though Activision's been losing money and obviously fans, of course?
I think they should all go their separate ways. In the same under the same publisher, but if they made their own game, it would be, you'd have more titles, you'd obviously bring in more money, right? And I think with Sledgehammer being so open-minded, they could make some of the best games released in the last 10 years. But because Infinity Ward is so straight, direct path, very linear path, they're kind of closed-minded, right? And they're not open to criticism like Sledgehammer is, but it's going to be weird to see in the future, though.
So you think that in the future games, you think they're going to be better, or do you think they're going to be the same as, like, the MW3 and the MW2?
I think they're going to be better. Since the last 2 years, they've brought in less money and less people buying their game. So if they don't improve on it, then they're just losing money as a company.
Right. Now, MW3 has been well known for the title of the scam game, from what people have said, from what I've heard from YouTube. And from other people. Now, we're going to ask my next co-host, Lucius, here. Now, Lucius, I have the same question as for you. Do you believe that Activision should keep, as the publisher, of course, do you believe the Activision should keep the 3 developers, obviously, Infinity War, Sledgehammer, and also Treyarch, for the future games, or do you think they should just, they should just let them go and do, separate games like they did back in the early 2000s?
Well, I think they should do separate games like in the early 2000s because of Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward just trying to make a decent game, but Treyarch just trying to make money.
Now, let me ask this, and I don't know about this, but maybe you probably know at least. Who do you think is who for the companies? Now, I know that people are wondering as well, but we need to know, who do you think is who what you just said? Now, to be honest, I don't know any, and maybe you want to take a guess at least?
I'm not really sure, but maybe Sledgehammer is just trying to make maybe they're just trying to make money, but the games that have come out are just pretty decent, and I've enjoyed them.
And let me ask this. Do you think that they're going to make a better game in the future, like in the next year?
I believe that they'll probably make a better game in the future because of, how they've made past ones and the future ones. This one, that the game has come out is pretty decent, and I believe they can make better ones.
Right. Jesse, do you think you agree with this, or do you think you disagree with it?
I think that I could agree with it because I've heard about the MW3, the new one, has a pretty good parts to it, and yeah.
And especially with the MW2 and MW3, they've added some new characters with Commander Philip Graves and Shadow Company, and as well they've made, they took in actual people, the visual of it, rather than the voice actors and the back in the old Call of Duty. Now, with that in mind, we're gonna wrap things up with one thing, actually 2 things. One thing is ask yourself, ask your family or friends this who are listening. Ask him, do you think that Activision should keep the 3 developers together, or do you think they should separate them like they did in the early 2000s? And also, if you think that the new game that probably may come out, we don't know, if it may come out, be very interesting or be very, kind of bleh. So with that also in mind, I will, that is in today's end of the broadcast. I'm your host, Gary Haynes.
And I'm your co-host, Jesse Heath.
And I'm your co-host, Lucius Longmore.
And I'm your co-host, Chase Grant.
And this is the Gotham Garage.
All right, there you go. The Cascade High School takeover of the Rip City Drive. Nice work by the guys. Jesse, Garrett, Chase, and Lucius. We'll keep things rolling. We'll come back, and I want to share some more thoughts on college football as we get ready for championship weekend. And we're going to hear more from the kids at Cascade High School. Really appreciate your time today. We got the Rip City Drive.
It's Rip City Drive on 620 Rip City Radio. Brought to you by Lazy Boy. What's your strategy for comfort? Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
All right, we got more from the Cascade Cougars and their takeover of the show coming up at the top of the hour. Shacker informed me that someone wanted to know if my son Isaac is going to be calling in today on the YouTube chat.
What it says in the chat room. I thought someone had insider info.
I have no idea. You know, Isaac, normally if he wants to come on the show, he will let me know ahead of time, hey, I want to call in today. And I'm like, all right, you know the rules. Have a take and don't suck. Call in with purpose. And he loves the Dallas Cowboys. I hate that. That's a sign of poor parenting on my part. And he likes to tell me that the Cowboys are awesome and the Broncos suck. And he also likes to get under my skin because he'll send me texts, and he's doing this all the time right now, about LeBron being the GOAT. He thinks that's hilarious. And I'm like, dude, he's not the GOAT. It's Michael Jordan. You know what the deal is, right? So anyways, that's my son. I don't know if he's calling in or not. He did not alert me that he's going to call in. But with him, you never know. That's the great thing about Isaac. He truly is a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get with him. All right, let's talk a little more about the college football playoff rankings. Dude, I'm so pumped for Friday. How great is this weekend, by the way? It's going to kick off on Friday at 5 on ABC with Oregon and Washington, right into Saturday morning with the Big 12 Championship, right into the SEC Championship with Bama and Georgia at 1 o'clock. It doesn't get any better than this. And you got to love the Pac-12. One of the biggest games in the history of the conference, maybe the biggest, and you've got them playing on a Friday night. What a loser conference. I'm so glad the Pac-12 is going away so that we can see schools in legitimate conferences with legitimate leadership the way it's supposed to be done. I have a good idea. Let's play a conference title game on a Friday night when no one gives a flying rip. Unbelievable to me. And then everyone will be tuned in to watch Bama, Georgia, 1 o'clock on Saturday. But it's still a great weekend. Great game in the Pac-12, SEC Championship, ACC Championship. It's going to be awesome. Now, as you know, the playoff rankings are out as of yesterday. Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Florida State are your top four. Oregon is the first team out, followed by Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama. I mentioned before that I truly believe if the favorites win along with an Alabama win, that the committee is going to select 2 SEC schools. And under those circumstances, because Texas would be a one-loss conference champ and they've got the win in Tuscaloosa, they would take Georgia, Bama, Michigan, Texas. I really believe that the Pac-12, Oregon, would get screwed if Alabama wins. So you Duck fans, you need Georgia to win that game. I think you know that. Do you really trust the committee? No, you don't. You never want to leave it up to the committee because they'll probably make the wrong choice. 13 people that none of which work full-time in college football, and they're deciding who's going to play for a championship. That's wild to me. Now, I do wonder if everything goes according to chalk. Georgia wins, Michigan wins, Oregon beats Washington. They're a 9.5-point favorite. Florida State wins, and Texas wins. What's the committee going to do? My guess would be they'll take Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, and Florida State. I would put Texas in. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't want Florida State, even if they're unbeaten in the Final Four, because they're not one of the 4 best teams. And the committee, keep in mind, aside from who's most deserving and all this other nonsense, they're supposed to find the 4 best teams in college football. And look at how many teams are still alive. 1 through 8, Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama. Of those 8, who do you think the worst team is? It's Florida State. Florida State is the 8th best team out of the top 8 right now in the college football playoff rankings in my mind. Do you disagree with that? Florida State should not play for a championship. They're not one of the 4 best teams. And the committee, while they're supposed to select the 4 best teams, will keep Florida State in if they win and go unbeaten because they're the most deserving in their mind. And I think that's nonsense. It's garbage. So it's frustrating. I want the 4 best teams, and Florida State being in is not one of the 4 best teams. It's that simple. And I'm telling you, if chaos hits, do you really think they're going to drop Georgia out as the number one team if they lose their first game in 3 years in the SEC title game? Honestly. More importantly, if Alabama wins, do you think they're going to take a one-loss SEC champ coming off a win over the number one team in the country and keep them out of the playoff? I don't think they're going to do that either. I know they sit at number 8, and I know that no team at 8 with 1 week to go has ever jumped up into the playoff field, but we've never had this type of scenario. So, again, it goes back to the very basics. You better hope Georgia wins. Now, the clear, unquestioned ace in the hole for the Pac-12 as a conference is a Washington win. But no one thinks Washington's going to win the game tomorrow because of the way Oregon has looked. What did I say? Yeah, tomorrow, Friday, whatever. Everyone knew what I meant. It feels like a Thursday, Shacker. It feels like a Thursday.
Or it feels like nighttime.
I know. The sun goes down too early now. So that's what we're looking at. Duck fans, you know what you need. You need Georgia to win. All right? Maybe Florida State with their backup quarterback, Rodemaker. Sounds like a plumber or something. Maybe they'll lose to Louisville. That would certainly simplify things to a degree. But I want the committee that I don't trust to have chaos so we can see what type of decisions they'll make. And I agree with the Godfather. Put those fools on camera and let us watch and listen to their discussions and how they come up with the ideas that they do. Because I have a feeling we would laugh at the incompetence. That would be my guess. All right, we'll keep things rolling. It's the Cascade High School takeover of the Rip City Drive. I love kids. Some were great. Some were nervous, but I respect it. They stepped up and got it done. We're going to hear more of that coming up next. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. The holiday playlist that fits every mood from last Christmas to my only wish this year. The Christmas Hits playlist on the iHeartRadio will put everyone in the holiday spirit. Search Christmas Hits on the free iHeartRadio app.
Here's what you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
All right, 4 o'clock. College football playoff rankings are out. Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and FSU are your top 4. Oregon, the first team out of 5, followed by Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama. The Pac-12 title game Friday night in Vegas. That kickoff at 5 on ABC. Oregon is a 9.5-point favorite. SEC title game Saturday at 1 on CBS. Georgia, a 6-point favorite. Michigan meets Iowa for the Big Ten, and FSU takes on Louisville for the ACC title. Oregon State's got a new coach. Trent Bray will take over for Jonathan Smith. Most recently, the defensive coordinator, and like Smith, an OSU alum. From the NFL, Aaron Rodgers has been cleared to practice 11 weeks after surgery to repair a ruptured Achilles. And your Portland Trail Blazers back in action tomorrow. They're in Cleveland to meet the Cavs. Tip-off at 4, game day at 1:30. And it's all right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
All right, Rip City Drive. If you're just joining us, today is a Cascade High School takeover on the Rip City Drive. I went down and spoke with their sports media class. Justin Lauder is the teacher, and I've become friends with him. And we came up with an idea to have his class be an active part in a show one day to give them some real life experience on air. So they broke up into groups, and each group came up with their own topics that they wanted to talk about. And I went down and set up the equipment, and they recorded yesterday. So we're getting a chance to play that on the show today. And Paul reached out, and he goes, "Hey, Chad, what the heck is going on with your station right now? 620 sounds like a bunch of high schoolers." Yeah, exactly, because they're a bunch of high schoolers at Cascade High School in Turner, Oregon. So I'm excited for them. And you got to remember, when you go on air for the first time, these kids sounded better than I did in my radio debut. Of course, some are going to be a little bit nervous, and that's okay. The idea is to give them some experience so they can continue to grow and move forward and have an idea of what they want to do. I wish I had a sports media class when I was in school. So that's what we're doing today. So sit back, strap in, and enjoy. And coming up at 4:45, I'm going to be joined by a very good friend, Josh Trainer, one of my very good friends who's going to share a very cool story. He almost died on the golf course when we were playing up at Wildwood. Yeah, no surprise it came after the walk up to 16. Nearly died of a heart attack on the course, and he's here to talk about it, so we're going to get his story. And he's doing something really cool that's different than your normal type of autograph. So we'll get some details from Josh. I think you'll enjoy that conversation. But right now, we're going to introduce a new group from Cascade High School, home of the Cougars. This is Group 3. And it's composed of Yari Stegman, Ryder Amaya, Cassidy Crabtree, and Olivia Bennett. And they decided that they wanted to talk about Cascade High School basketball. So let's take a listen to what they came up with.
Welcome to the Three Amigos and One Amigo show. I'm Yari, the host, and our co-hosts are Cassidy, Olivia, and Ryder. Today we'll be looking back to when our Cascade girls varsity basketball team played and talking about how the different matchups brought out different sides of players in the game. First, we'll be talking about the Cascade versus Dallas game. To start it off, Cascade sweeps Dallas at their house and had the most steals they have had all year. These steals were caused by the Cascade's 1-2-1-1 press, and Dallas could not get the ball up the court. Up first will be Cassidy talking about the game.
Cascade did struggle in the first half of this game, not playing at what they usually do. But very much so, Cascade had 30 steals that game, with the leading stealer being Cassidy Crabtree with 10 steals. The next leading stealer was Maddie Dustin with 5. Cascade has showed their ability to press and get this amount of steals, but this game really showed off the ability to do so. This game showed Cascade's intensity when pressing full court and not letting off the gas pedal, with the final score being 63-27.
The leading scorer was Olivia Bennett with 16 points, then Maddie Dustin with 12, and Cassidy Crabtree with 11 following right behind. Olivia Bennett and Maddie Dustin both contributed 5 3-pointers. These three are starters for Cascade and had started in the previous games and really showed off their capability to take on a good lead in the beginning of the game. However, there are two more players that make this possible, and that is Rosalind Schmunk and Lexi Newton.
Cassidy really had her outbreak game. That game with the double-double, 11 points and 10 steals. Cascade pressed Dallas and absolutely handled them on the defensive end, barely let them past half court. Cascade girls had a huge 30 steals against Dallas, and Dallas only having 8. Cascade scored 63 points on Dallas and only letting Dallas have 27. Cascade did only shoot 16% from the three-point line, though, and Dallas shooting 0%. Cascade's points mostly came from steals and fast breaks this game, not shooting a three as well as they usually do.
Going on to the press, the 1-2-1-1, we had Rosalind Schmunk at the top and Cassidy Crabtree and Maddie Dustin on the wing, and with Rosalind Schmunk's long arms and Maddie Dustin, they ended up getting a lot of tips, therefore having the rest of the team grab the ball and just hit him down for a fast break.
Next, we'll be talking about the Cascade versus Sweet Home game. Looking back on the matchup against Sweet Home, the Cougars handled the Huskies. Let's look back on some of the highlights and key players within this game. Cassidy will be starting us off with the game.
So to start off, the girls completely handled the Huskies in this league game at their place, beating them by 50+.
Cascade started off fast and ended the game fast, sitting the starters in the fourth. Cascade pressed Sweet Home with their 1-2-1-1 the first half, getting a nice 20-point lead, and took off the press in the second half and dropped into a half-court man matchup. With us having a bigger lead than 20, we weren't allowed to press anymore. Maddie had an outstanding 30 points at the end of the game, following with another 7 assists on top of it. Cassidy also had an outbreak game this game, shooting the three ball at 75% and leading our defensive side with her high intensity and the amount of steals she gets each game.
Olivia, what do you think helped keep the team keep a steady pace throughout the game?
Probably just not letting off the gas pedal, even if they were up 20 or 50 after the quarters.
Before we go to the next segment, I was at Trinity the gym in the third quarter. Fans, players, and even looked like the coaches were worried. Everyone was worried when Trinity Schmunk ran out, not just because she ran off the floor in the middle of a play, but that nobody knew what was wrong or if she was okay. She finally returned in the fourth and does not return back in the game and sits on the bench. Fans worried if this was because she was sick, hurt, or something else was going on. All to wonder. However, this little setback did not affect Cascade's gameplay, and they continued to push on and smack Sweet Home. Now going to Corbett with Olivia.
The next matchup was Cascade versus Corbett. This was one of the best games for Cascade being down 20+, but having one of the best comebacks last season with losing Cassidy Crabtree due to injury in the first quarter with a bad sprained ankle.
Cascade down 20 in the first half, come back and win 55-50. Cascade struggles in the first half versus Corbett, not playing together as a team and not being able to shoot the ball like they usually do until the second half. Maddie really had a great game that game, having 25+, probably 5 assists and a few rebounds. Cascade shoots 50% from the three in total that game, 80% from the free throw, and 45% from the field goal. One of the best games Cascade has played on total, offensively and defensively. The whole team really came together that game after being down 20+ in the first and not playing at what they can. Cascade was not prepared or didn't know what they were coming into playing Corbett, one of the best two-way schools in the state.
I personally think that they weren't prepared because when they first showed up and they got off the bus and they got into the gym, it was about 30 degrees in the gym, and Cascade found this out and had to warm up with their tracksuits and stuff on. It really was a shock to their body and just them warming up. Cascade hasn't played in this environment before, and Corbett's been practicing it this whole week, which gave them the upper hand. Also leading Cascade didn't know that they had the size disadvantage when Corbett has 5, 6, and up for their whole starting roster. Number 1 fouled out. That was their star player in the game in the fourth quarter, which also helped Cascade lead and get their game.
Cassidy Crabtree goes out in the first quarter for Cascade, mid-play,
going for a steal
and getting twisted up with opposing player's leg. Even though Cassidy was out for the rest of the game, Cascade still brought their intensity up in the second half, knowing they didn't have that defensive end or asset during the game with the amount of steals she gets each game.
And the roster goes on with Maddie Dustin, Cassidy Crabtree, Olivia Bennett, Rosalind Schmunk, Trinity Schmunk, Lexi Newton, Carson Shank, Kaylee Bergendorf, Olivia Frizzell, Taylor Cam, and Jessica Main, with a total of around 12 to 13. In one of their games, Maddie, Dustin, Taylor Cam, and Cassie Crabtree were all out, which led for a tough matchup against Marist, and they ended up losing. But this really just shows that we need the whole team to play together, and we can still win with players out, such as Corbett. And now to Ryder to talk about the basketball game itself.
To start off, basketball is a game that includes a 90-foot long court and a 50-foot wide floor. In the game of basketball, there are 5 players on each team that steps out onto the floor. 10 players in total, and typically 2 to 3 refs. The refs wear black and white striped shirts that allow the players to tell the difference between them and the other team. The refs officiate the game and allow the game to be played fairly. When I say fairly, I mean they set rules within the game trying to keep players safe. There are things that refs call, such as fouls, that keep the players safe. There are things that refs call grabbing, slapping, charges, pushes, and etc. Basically things that make the game more physical. The refs try to keep out. They all call out of bounds, carries, double dribbles, travels, and 3 seconds in the key. Out of bounds is when a player steps out or the ball goes out. They say who it goes to. A carry is when a player walks and has their hand underneath the ball and then dribbles. A double dribble is when a player uses both hands to dribble at the same time. A travel is when a player takes more than 2 steps without the ball dribbling. Lastly, 3 seconds in the key is when a player is in the key for more than 3 seconds.
More rules to add on to that are some new rules, which is that teams will not be shooting 1-and-1 anymore. After 10 fouls, teams will be shooting 2, and not during 7. There won't be any 7 fouls where they shoot 1-and-1.
This resets after each quarter. Also, going on, for every team in the league for 4A, it adds a new challenge to the game when we add the shot clock with 35 seconds on it. Cascade's going to have to learn how to play with that and not against it and use it to their advantages. This could definitely be a positive for them in their defense with the way they like to play.
Randall also talks about how Cascade will not struggle this year with the shot clock, having players on the team who can shoot the ball well and putting in whole new offense. So Cascade will not struggle with the shot clock, just playing basketball and not resetting the play every time.
That will be it. Thanks for listening to the 3 Amigos and 1 Amigos talk show.
All right, there you go. Another group from Cascade High School on their takeover of the Rip City Drive. And what I love is that, you learn this real quick. So many things I didn't know when I started in radio. Don't breathe into the microphone. What can you do? What can you do? That's part of the learning experience. All right, we'll keep things rolling. My good friend Josh is going to join me coming up at 4:45 to share his, pretty incredible story. And we'll hear more from Cascade High School when we come back. Appreciate your time. You got the Rip City Drive here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Rip City Radio is looking for photos of your children with Santa, not the smiling, successful photos, the other kind that you show your child melting down like a snowman in July.
You're listening to the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad on 620 Rip City Radio. Brought to you by Lazy Boy. What's your strategy for comfort? Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
I love Phil Collins. I got stuck in YouTube mode the other night, as I often do. And I went through and I pulled out and created a playlist of my favorite Phil Collins and Genesis songs. And you know someone's awesome, but sometimes I forget how many great songs they have. Gosh, I love Phil Collins. So glad I saw him in concert. Only once, but I got to see him before he shut it down, thankfully. All right, it's the Cascade High School takeover of the Rip City Drive. And if you're just joining me, well, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. But yesterday I went down and had a chance to work with the sports media class that Justin Lauder teaches at Cascade High School in Turner, Oregon. And we came up with an idea to break up the class in groups. And they got a chance to pick the topics that they wanted to talk about. And then from there, they were able to record their own segments on the radio. And I thought, you know what? I would have given my right arm, my right leg, any body part that was needed to be able to do something like this when I was in school. And so we're doing this, and we're giving them a chance to get some real-life experience because it's one of my missions in what I do, to work with youngsters and to extend to them the same type of opportunities I had when I was younger. Because when you're young and you don't have experience, it's hard to get someone to give you an opportunity to work. Well, what's your experience? Well, I don't have any. Well, we need someone with experience. Well, how can I get experience if you won't let me in the station? You don't have to pay me. I just want to hang out. I'll watch. I'll do whatever. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish. So they all got to pick their own topics. Our next group, they wanted to talk some NFL. And group 4 consists of Jamison Walsh, Noah Zaire, Jackson Pickett, and Cameron Wilson. And they're going to break down some of the best teams in the NFL, some of the storylines, and I think the teams that they think have the best chance to win a Super Bowl. So let's take a listen from Group 4, Jamison Walsh, Noah Zaire, Jackson Pickett, and Cameron Wilson.
Hello, my name is Jamison. I'm here with, I'm the host. I'm here with Jackson Pickett, Cameron Wilson, and Noah Zaire. Today, we're going to be talking about the NFL, maybe who's going to the playoffs, who might have a chance at the Super Bowl, and just overall how teams are doing right now. Noah, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think the 49ers have had a great season this year. Started the season off well, but had 3 losses early on. And after those losses, they came back and have gotten about 3 more wins. And I think that they have a good shot at the playoffs this year, and I think they're going to go deep. What do you think, Jackson?
I'd have to agree with you there, Noah. The 49ers have been doing a great job this year. However, they had those 3 losses in a row, but this week they're going to be playing the Eagles to see who's the real champ. Last year they lost in the NFC Championship when Brock Purdy got hurt and Trent Williams, he got in a huge fight against some of the Eagles players. I really think that this is going to be a great game because our whole team is healthy and so are the Eagles, and I really think that this is going to be a great game. Jameson?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, Jackson. That's for sure going to be one of the top viewed games of this week, and I just think that Trent Williams at the line, I love seeing that guy play. And speaking of the line, they got Chase Young, a recent addition to their team on the defensive end, and also with Nick Bosa, also at a D-end position, and I think it'll be a great game against the Eagles. Cam, what do you think?
I think the Eagles are going to take the win there. I got a couple things to say about the Eagles. I think it's a really strong team. Especially this year, they got a couple defensive threats. One of those that sticks out to me is Darius Slay. One of the best corners right now, I'd say, in the game. Just the stats he's putting up. He's going against some of the top receivers in the game, and he's not letting anything come through. I think the Eagles have more than just defense, so their offense is a lot of weapons, and I think it's just more than the 49ers can handle right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Cam. They do got a pretty good offense going here with like DeAndre Swift, AJ Brown, which is kind of weird. AJ Brown started off the season, he started off hot, but he hasn't really gotten the ball very much with the recent games. But yeah, Jalen Hurts also I'd say he's one of, if not the best quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Noah, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think the Eagles have a good shot at winning the Super Bowl this year. They're 10-1. They've been doing phenomenal this year. After beating the Bills just recently, the Bills have been struggling this year, but I think that the Eagles are the best team in the NFL right now, hands down.
Yeah, me too. I'm on that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, Noah. Switching over to who I think could make the playoffs with the 7th seed. Right now, it's set to be the Seahawks, but the Seahawks, if you look at their schedule, it's looking a little rough, and I think that the Rams could sneak in there, make it to the playoffs. They got Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Kyron Williams just recently showed out and had a huge career game. Like, he was putting up some insane numbers. And Jackson, you want to?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there, Jameson. There's a lot of targets on that team, and the Seahawks have a very hard schedule coming up, and I really think that they don't have a chance in the playoffs here.
Yeah.
Let's go talk about the AFC here. The Chiefs have been having a great season this year, Patrick Mahomes, and I think after that game with the Eagles, I think that truly showed how good the team is, but there's the stuff that they need to work on as a team. Cam, what do you think?
The Chiefs they're a pretty good team, but I still got the Eagles. I'm pretty positive the Eagles are gonna go all the way and actually win the Super Bowl. I'm gonna just say it now.
Yeah, Cam, I'd agree with that. Considering that the Chiefs, they're a pretty good team, but they got the lead early, scoring I think it was 17 points in the first half, and then and I think what did the Eagles score? I think they scored. It might have been 7 or 14, but either way, the Chiefs had the lead at halftime, and and so the Chiefs actually Chiefs were up at half by a lot, and then Eagles came back, won it. Chiefs didn't score at all in the second half, and I think one of the main reasons for that is the receivers. The receivers for the Chiefs were not doing well. They weren't catching the ball. Travis Kelce had, I think it was like he had not very good game, and I think he had 3 drops in the third quarter. And you need that clutch time play to really compete in the playoffs. Noah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that the Chiefs had a good lead up on the Eagles, and they should have won that game. But the second half, they just dropped off, and they did not pull it together. And the Eagles came back, made them pay for it, and won the game.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Noah. Jackson?
Let's talk about the Bills here. Josh Allen has been doing a great job, but he's had too many interceptions, and I don't think they're playing their hardest that they can. And, I think that the Bills might have a chance here if they continue out their season and they keep winning their games. They had a great game against the Eagles in overtime, and I really think that the Bills could sneak in there. Noah?
Yeah, the Bills have just been an overall average team this year. They're 6-6. After last year, they played so well and went so deep into the playoffs. Everybody expected them to come back strong, and they just did not do that. They've just had tons of interceptions, lots of drop passes. If the Bills want to make it to the playoffs this year, they need to win out the rest of their games, and they have a tough schedule coming up here. So I think it's going to be hard for them to make the playoffs this year.
No, I'd agree with that. And but one thing I gotta put out there is that the Bills just had an insanely good game with the Eagles, and honestly, were robbed of a horse collar call that was outside the pocket, and
wild.
And you could see Josh Allen's jersey literally ripped at the collar, and then he was pulled from the back of his pads down. And that, if you read the rules, that's a horse collar outside the pocket, and grabbing the collar of his jersey or pads. But not to complain about the refs, but they just put up that game with the Eagles, and that's the same Eagles team that beat the Chiefs by, what was it?
7.
No, was it 7? No, it was like.
No.
It was like 4. It was 4, and that shows they can compete with the best teams in the league right now. And I think they could, if they make it to the playoffs, they'd have a good run. Cam, you want to add anything to this?
The Bills are a good team, but they're 6-6. I don't see them as, too much of a threat right now. I think 6-6. I don't think they're going to make it as far as the other teams that we've been talking about. Eagles and Chiefs and them. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'll change the subject here to the Denver Broncos. Okay, everyone thought they had to be the worst team in the league. Russell Wilson, he's getting old. Kind of. We thought he was getting washed up. Lost to the Dolphins, 20-70, towards the beginning of the year.
Dang.
Worst defensive. Was it defensive game for a team in I don't know how long, but had to be ages. Horrible blowout, but then bouncing back, and they've won 5 games in a row now, and that's crazy to do something like that. I think they could have one heck of a season, and I think they're a great team. Noah, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think the Broncos were not expected to do well this season at all. And they started the season like that, and they did play the Dolphins, which are a top team right now. But 70 points is just not acceptable for a professional football team.
No.
I feel like through the Broncos' loss, they've really came back and just blown everybody away with how they have won 5 straight, which is hard to do, and that's something that top team usually does.
Yeah,
the Broncos.
I'm pretty sure they beat the Chiefs, didn't they? That's
a big win.
And the Chiefs are supposed to be the number 2 team right now, just behind the Eagles. But I think the Broncos, if they make playoffs, they could actually have a shot at this. And I think their Dolphins game was probably somewhat of a fluke game. They were having an off game. And speaking of the Dolphins, though, their secondary is the quarterbacks don't want to throw to either side of the ball when they're going against the Eagles. And Jalen Ramsey, everyone's thinking he's entering his washed up days, and then he comes out and he's getting pick sixes left and right. And I think he's just playing overall great football and just reading the quarterback. And speaking of pick sixes, let's talk about Darren Bland from the Cowboys breaking the season pick six record. Jackson, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely crazy how he just beat that in about 11 games. That's pretty good accomplishment for him and his whole team. And I just think that shows about how good of a player he is. Cam?
Yeah, that one is definitely not a fluke. He's a great corner. I think it's amazing that someone can be in a professional league and get that many pick sixes. Just crazy to me. Great job to him. I want to see some more of that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But the Cowboys are okay. They're a good team, but every single year, they got Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott can't do nothing in the playoffs.
Yes.
Wow.
He's horrible in the playoffs, and every year he starts off the season, and he starts off winning season. Everyone's Cowboys. This is our year.
Yeah. We did boys.
We done boys. This is our year. And then they come out and they choke in the playoffs every single season.
Yes, every year.
I want to see something different from the Cowboys. I'd love to see it, but I just don't think it's happening. Noah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Dak Prescott leads his team every single year to the playoffs, and then the second they face a worthy competitor in the playoffs, they just drop off and they get smothered. So if they want to win out this year, do well deep in the playoffs, they need to come through in clutch moments, not just in easy wins.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Noah. Jackson, what do you think about this?
I'd have to agree with you there, Noah. They've beaten some teams crazy numbers, and I think that they need to play like a real team, like the Eagles and stuff like that, and really show how good of a team they are, and see what they need to work on, because they're playing some teams and they're beating them 70-0 and crazy stuff like that, and I don't think that's a true game.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jackson. I don't think 70-0 is what they're doing, but they did win 40-0, and they're getting in the higher numbers though in those wins. But then they haven't beaten any real competitors, and That's where the problem is, and you know they're a good team, but I just don't think, as long as they have Dak Prescott at quarterback, I don't think they're winning a Super Bowl anytime soon. Cam?
Yeah, they're definitely not them boys yet. You know, I think they played the Eagles, right, and lost to them. I'm pretty positive they did.
I think so.
I think I got $10 from that. But the Eagles, if they were to match up with the Cowboys right now, I have the Eagles easily winning, because I don't think the Cowboys are one of the really, really top teams. You know, I just think they're a good team. I'll say that they're a good team.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Not great.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Another team we should be talking about though is the Lions. The Lions, 8-3 right now. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious? I'm pretty sure that's the first time the Lions are 8-3. What was it? I just saw a site. Lions first time 8-3 since JFK was president. What is that?
Gosh. That's terrible.
Oh my God.
8-3.
Okay, but I say Campbell. Is that their coach's name? I think he's a great coach. Former tight end. Is it Campbell? Yeah, pretty sure.
I don't know.
But that guy, he's leading the Lions to actually winning some games. And Jared Goff, former Ram, great quarterback. I'd say they got, what is it, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know. I think they could make it pretty far in the playoffs. I'd say second or third round. But Noah, what do you think about this?
I think the Lions really shocked everybody this year. I mean, they got Jared Goff, and like their roster is not amazing when you look at it on paper, but they've just come through on the field and they've done an exceptional job. And they just lost this last week, but if they can bounce back from that, continue to win, once you make it into the playoffs, anybody can win. So I feel like if the Lions keep this up, then they have a good shot of maybe winning the Super Bowl this year.
The Super Bowl, wow.
I don't know.
Okay,
I never know.
Super Bowl's crazy.
Okay, I'd say they got a pretty good team. They got a lot of decent players, but not a lot of like real threats on certain parts of the field. And I'd say this has been a great talk show we got going here. I think it's time to wrap it up. We'll see you guys later.
See you guys.
All right, Rip City Drive with Chad Doing as the Cascade High School takeover. The Rip City Drive continues. When we come back, you're going to hear a great story from a good friend of mine. He almost died on the golf course, the walk up to 16 at Wildwood, and he's doing something really cool that changes maybe the way you think about autographs. You'll hear that story next on the Rip City Drive. Grab your VIP pass to the table where the big NFL conversations happen with the new show, Schrager's NFL Roundtable. Join Peter Schrager, the insightful voice of NFL Network and Fox Sports, each week as he opens up his notebook and shares the inside scoop on the latest developments in the world of football. But that's not all. This podcast goes beyond the headlines. Peter is joined by a distinguished guest list featuring decision makers, power brokers, and celebrity football fans, creating a dynamic roundtable discussion that takes you beyond the surface of the game. Get ready to be in the know and at the heart of the action with Schrager's NFL Roundtable every week on the iHeartRadio app. All right, Rich City Drive. Very happy to welcome in studio this guy here. I'll set up the story and then I'll bring him in. But he is absolutely one of my best friends, and this is how we met. No joke. When I was working at a different station in town, it was in downtown Portland, and I walked down like I did every day because of my caffeine addiction to get a cup of coffee. And I'm standing in line at the Starbucks at the building, and this guy walks up to me, and he's like, "Is your name Chad?" And I looked at him, and I smiled, and I said, "It is." And, of course, I always wonder in the back of my mind, what did I say? How did I offend them? What type of take did I have that would lead them to come up to me at Line and Coffee? And we started talking and find out that he listens to the show from time to time. He's a big Blazer fan, but also, this is key, huge Denver Bronco fan because his wife and their family is from Colorado. So that conversation led into more conversations, which led into coffee time together. And now we're golfing buddies, and I consider him one of my very best friends, basically like family. And he's in studio today because it is his birthday. He is now the same age as I am at 48. It's my man, Josh Trainer. What's up, brother?
Hey, Chad.
Dude, it's
nice
so good to
be
see
here.
you. I can't believe I asked you when you got here today. I was like, have you been here before? And you're like, no. So now that you're in, what's it like seeing behind the scenes with how this is created?
Behind the scenes is amazing, right? It's seeing what you do, all of the equipment, the whiteboard, the big board, right?
Yeah.
And just seeing how the show runs, functions, meeting Michael, helping the show run. And no, it's fantastic to see how it all goes down.
That's awesome. Man, there's so many things to talk about. I'll save the Broncos for later because I want to talk about something more important. I've shared this story on air multiple times, so some of the listeners are aware, but you and I were playing golf up at Wildwood, which is one of our favorite courses because it's beautiful, and we love to play golf together. Now, how long ago was this? With
Just
the occasion
a
I'm
little
going to bring
over
up?
3 years.
So just a little over 3 years ago. He and I are walking the back nine. I'm using my push cart. He's carrying his clubs around. And as many of you know, on the backside of Wildwood, on the final 3 holes, 16, 17, and 18, the walk up to 16 is incredibly hard. It's like a 90-degree angle, and it's very difficult. And as we got on the final 3 holes, I noticed that my man Josh wasn't feeling very well. And I was like, dude, are you okay? And so he stopped around, 17, where he said, I'm just going to sit the rest out. And we got finished, and then you weren't feeling well at all. And I asked you, I said, do you want me to drive you home? What can I do for you? She said, no, I'm okay. Well, come to find out, you had to get rushed to the hospital because you actually had a heart attack during that walk at Wildwood. And
Yeah.
very well, how close were you, do you think, of having a massive heart attack that would have caused death?
Very close. So I ended up having 2 stents put in, one in my widowmaker, left descending. And the cardiologist basically was like, if these stents don't work, we're going to crack your chest open and get after it. So,
Wow.
yeah, it was no joke for sure.
So you come out of that. What was the mental process for you at the time, like following the stay in the hospital and realizing that you had to change maybe some of your habits and different things to get yourself back on track? And I know you said it was very emotional because you came really close to dying. What was that like for you?
Right. It really affected me, my emotions, my mental health, I would say, because you have this near-death experience and definitively know it could have gone the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
So you're living with that. You're thinking about it, even on a daily basis, knowing 3 days ago, 5 days ago, 10 days ago, I could have not been here any longer, right? And so now you start to readjust kind of what you eat and how you sleep and getting after your exercise, right? As you kind of get a move away from that event. And as I began to adjust those things, kind of the mental health kind of starts to click in, right?
Yeah.
And your value, your purpose, your worth kind of comes back around, and is able to realign some things. And now 3 years on, I feel great.
Yeah, you've lost a bunch of weight. Like, you've reshaped your entire body. How much do you weigh now compared to what you were when the heart attack happened?
So at my heart attack in the hospital, 267 pounds. So today on the scale, 201.
Wow.
So 66 pounds Yeah, so I feel great.
What's the nickname that your wife gives you now?
Chicken Boy. Chicken Boy.
You look great. I noticed it right away, like in the cheeks and everything, and to see just your mobility and how active you are and the way that you've been able to get back to doing some of the things you love, like playing basketball and soccer and still golf and stuff, which I think is tremendous. I also know that aside from the changes you made to reshape your body physically, I'm speaking from what I see in you. What I've noticed is that it's changed the way that you view your time on this planet, what you value now, but more importantly, relationships with friends and family, and how important they are in your life because you realize that you almost lost everything.
Sure. It altered my perspective that way. It changed how I view relationships. It changed how I approach life. It allows me now to view relationships and appreciating others as what is meaningful and what is valuable as we live on this earth.
That's awesome. That's a blessing to be able to come to that realization, isn't it? Well, we were talking about this, and you came up with an idea. And you were talking about how you called me up one night, and you were telling me about how you were talking about autographs and how when we were younger, we would have a basketball or football or a baseball. You'd want to find an athlete that you really admired because you wanted them to give you an autograph so you could have it, right, and be able to cherish it. And you came up with this idea to where instead of seeking out athletes, you thought, you know what, I want to get a basketball for my family, and I want to get a basketball for my friends because you wanted to approach the people that mean the most to you and have them autograph the ball for you. Talk about how you came up with this idea because I think it's genius.
We seek and we chase these autographs, right? These star athletes or entertainers or performers. And really these people who we're chasing after, they have no clue about our lives. They have no idea or sense, not in a rude way, but they don't care in a sense about my life, right? Or your life. So I kind of wanted to flip it on its head and start to gain and chase the autographs of those who have meaning in my life, who've brought value, who have supported me, who have changed my life in a sense, and get their autograph, get their signature, so I can keep it. Like, I love basketball, so for me, it's having them sign a basketball, and I'm going to be able to look at that ball years on now and say, hey, look who signed this ball. And I can relate a story then to whomever I'm with to say, here's how this person impacted my life.
Mm-hmm. That's terrific. And what's been the experience like so far? Because you did your family ball, right? And you still have family members that need to sign it that you're going to ask to sign. What's been the reaction when you ask people to sign the ball for you? And what have you noticed through that process?
I've just started on the friends one, right? So approaching friends and being able to just have a moment with them that is, I can share my appreciation. I can share why I value them. I can share what they've meant to me in my life, and then explain to them how much of an honor it would be for them to sign the ball for me, right? And so having those moments to just show and demonstrate appreciation, and even on the basketball now is little notes and signatures of people close to me who have supported me, who have loved me, who have cared for me, provided support and taken care of me. And so to have those little notes now, even beyond just a signature, is fantastic.
Gosh, that's awesome. That's better than any autograph from someone that you don't know.
Absolutely.
Because you're seeking out the people that mean the most to you. And I know how much you value, family. And I just love the idea. Gosh, it's so good. All I can tell you, Josh, is that I'm just glad that we became friends. It's become so much more than I thought, but I love spending time with you. I love our conversations after Bronco games, win, lose, or whatever. And I love being out on the golf course with you. But I've had a chance to hang out with you. I see how you are as a dad and as a husband and with your family and stuff, man. It's awesome. You're the best.
Oh, I
It's so
appreciate
great to have you in
Chad.
studio.
Oh man, no, it's great to be here with you, and I appreciate you, your kindness, care, friendship. Just some random dude walking up to you in a Starbucks, and you bought my coffee.
I did.
Hey, you offered, and you're like,
that.
hey, can I buy your coffee? And that started this 8-9 year now relationship that we have, and from being at Broncos games together to being on the golf course together, to fishing your golf clubs out of the water.
Yeah. He's the one when my
yes.
bag rolled into the water at Heron Lakes, he jumped in. I was sitting there trying to draw it back with my putter. He didn't even hesitate. He jumped in and brought it back to me. Had it not been for you and me just staying there dumbfounded, I would have lost my new bag and my clubs. Thank you.
So,
not to mention
welcome.
my wallet and keys and everything else that was in the bag. Gosh, that was great.
So.
That was so good. Well, dude, thanks for coming by. Happy birthday, and I look forward to many more years of just hanging out and being boys, man.
Absolutely.
I love you, buddy.
No, love you too, bro.
All right, big thanks to Josh for stopping by and joining me. I appreciate that. We'll come back and continue with the Cascade High School takeover. Chad doing here. You got the Rip City Drive on 620 Rip City Radio.
Here's what you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
All right, the Blazers will be back in action tomorrow. They're in Cleveland to meet the Cavs, coming off their win over Indiana. Tip-off will be at 4. Game day at 1:30. It's all here on 620 Rip City Radio. Crazy story out of the NFL. Aaron Rodgers cleared to practice 11 weeks after surgery to repair a ruptured Achilles. The college football playoff rankings are out. Oregon's the first team out at 5. Georgia, Michigan, Washington, FSU, your top 4. Pac-12 title game Friday night down in Vegas. 5 o'clock kick on ABC. Oregon right now a whopping 9.5-point favorite over Washington. SEC title Saturday at 1. CBS, Georgia favored by 6. And Michigan will take on Iowa. For those who don't like offense, Big Ten title, FSU will take on Louisville for the ACC title. And Oregon State has a new head coach. Trent Bray takes over for Jonathan Smith, who was most recently the defensive coordinator on Smith's staff.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
It's a great song here. Rip City Drive, Chad doing with you. It's the Cascade High School takeover of the Rip City Drive. If you're just joining me, well, good afternoon, first off. I was down at Cascade High School in Turner, Oregon, just south of Salem yesterday, and I was in their sports media class, which is taught by Justin Lauder. And I was down there, and I had my entire radio set up on one of the tables in the classroom, and the class had broken up into groups and formed their own little radio shows, and they got to talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. And it's part of the effort I have to, work with youngsters who have an interest in the business to give them an opportunity to hopefully pursue a career in media one day. If you're crazy enough to want to pursue media, you deserve a chance. So I was down there, and Justin does a great job with the kids, and he's got a passion for it, and so it was a great opportunity for them. And so we're playing back their segments on the radio today, which I think is really cool. And our next group that we're going to share with you on the show is what we call Group 1, and it's a combination of Zoe Butler, Ureli Torres Salazar, Madeline McKenzie, and Grace Johnson. And they did a very good job tackling some of the issues with LSU women's basketball and some social media. So I want you to take a listen to this. But I was very impressed with Group 1.
Welcome to our segment where we're going to be talking about the LSU drama. I'm your host, Grace Johnson, and I'm going to be starting off by talking about Angel Reese. Recently, Angel wasn't at the Southeastern Louisiana game and wasn't even present, and the public are going crazy not knowing where she was or if she was kicked off the team, and she is a part of the team. Let's just clear that up. Kim Mulkey had the head coach had an interview saying, Angel is a part of this team and we hope to see her sooner than later. Kim is dissatisfied with Angel's focus and play in the game, and that is part of the reason why she was suspended. Rumors have been spreading that this is also due to a low GPA. It's apparently the coach's decision that she didn't play and was benched for the second half of the game against Kent State. On another note, I'd like to bring up how Colorado beat them basically out of left field, and they were ranked number 20. It wasn't even a close game, and that's pretty embarrassing for them because they're number 1. The score ended up being 92-78. And everyone was very shocked that the Tigers fell to a team that was ranked number 20. My personal opinion is I love LSU. I think they're great, and I love their players. But sometimes it seems that they get a little too comfortable. And I think that confidence is great, and I think that their confidence is great. But when you're only told you're the best or you're number 1 or you're the champion, you might not work as hard or see other competitors as real competitors. Let's talk about Angel and her money making right now. She's making a ton of money, especially with the NIL deals. and her net worth just at 21 years old is already $1.2 million. That's crazy. Another topic is the old drama between Angel and Caitlin. Caitlin is on Iowa, and they had a game in the past season, and Angel pointed at her ring finger after shooting and got some backlash because she was taunting Caitlin during the game, and Reese has now clarified later that her and Caitlin don't have any beef or hard feelings, but respect for each other as fierce competitors. But during the game, it seemed very heated and a lot of taunting going on because they're so competitive, but they are fierce competitors and respect each other. So now we're going to have Zoe. Can you tell us more about Angel and some of the beef going on?
Yeah, so the low GPA rumors stirred from a mother of her teammate, Flau'jae Johnson, after she replied to Reese's mother, who took to Instagram to complain about grammar errors when people sent her messages. At the time, it was unclear who she was talking about. Now it was clear that she was definitely talking about Flau'jae's mother, Kia Brooks. Brooks replied on her Instagram story, writing, "You definitely know about grammar errors when your daughter got a 2.0 or less GPA. And in fact, when you're writing your smart messages, you didn't capitalize nor did you use any periods, making it clear she was the subject of the attack." Having a high GPA is an important discussion in college sports, just because it comes to fairness and all of that. The athletes that are putting in all of the work to get their grades up and actually go through college as being an athlete should have a better chance and higher reputation than those who are just going to college to be an athlete.
It kind of shows discipline that they are willing to work for that. Yeah.
Angel Reese missed the entirety of the second half of the game against Kent State. This is when the rumors started spreading. But many social media users speculate that the reason is much larger than grades. Some taking to say that most college athletes don't even go to a classroom. Angel Reese is a good player, though, with averaging 23 points, 15.4 rebounds, and 2.3 assists per game in the 2022 to 2023 season. And obviously she's no newcomer to the spotlight, especially when she was having the quote-unquote beef with Caitlin at the Iowa game that the Tigers won 102 to 85. But speaking of another great college athlete, I'd like to give it to Aurelie to talk about Livy Dunn.
Yeah, thank you. So before I get into Olivia Dunn, there's an interesting thing about her, but before I get to that, let me just give you some insights about her. So she's a 21-year-old junior, and she is obviously going to LSU and is a gymnast. But what makes her special is that she is unbelievably popular, especially for her age, and it's almost like overwhelming because she has 7.8 million followers on TikTok, and that's a crazy amount of number. And if you go on TikTok, there's several videos about her, and she's known for this crazy fan base it's full of boys, and it's getting so severe that she can't even go to class anymore. So she's still a gymnast, but she's no longer going to classes. And another thing about her is that her boyfriend is Paul Skeens, and they confirmed their dating in August. So, and her fan base is, like I said, it's crazy, and a lot of people on the internet are saying that the fanboys are like quote-unquote cringy, embarrassing, disturbing, and so on. So just knowing that, there's a lot of comments on her Instagram saying stuff, just random crossing the line kind of stuff. And not only that, but they are supportive, but almost in a way that it's like crossing the line. And so for her situation, it's very overwhelming, to say the least. And knowing that she is one of the highest paid college athletes in the country, which not surprising because of how much of her popularity is coming off. And her estimated annual income is $3.5 million. And for a 21-year-old to be making that much money is insane. And she claims that from a single post, she made over $500,000. And this is because of a recent NIL deal that she made. And for those who don't know, it just stands for name, image, and likeness, and this just allows college athletes to gain some extra cash, I should say, and it only applies for the top 1 athletes in NCAA. So behind that, there's just a bunch of marketing and promotions that are made. But yeah, so she's insanely popular, and she claims that it is overwhelming, and a lot of people on the internet are saying that she might be liking the attention or almost like enabling it, because she did say in this one interview that she can't help the way she looks. So a lot of people are like, oh, she wants this attention, but me personally, I feel like she's just trying to do what she likes, but it's overwhelming because of popularity. So that's my thoughts on her. Can we give it up for Maddie?
Yeah, Maddie, can you tell us a little more about how Dunn is being affected by how much attention she's getting?
Yeah, so she actually stated that she cannot go to her classes anymore for safety reasons, and she had some scares in the past. She just wants to be as careful as possible. She said, I don't want people knowing my daily schedule and where I am. She also said that she was getting threats last year and had to get the police involved. So LSU has hired some bodyguards for her that follow her around, mainly for the excited teenage boys. Olivia has stated on some of her social media posts that she has an enemy and her name is Brecken Hill. She said Hill is really only becoming famous because she looks a lot like her. Olivia Dunn has said that there was a group of boys that keep chanting Livy. Dunn is, as Aurelie said, the most followed college athlete on social media, and her NIL value was also said to be nearly $2.7 million. That is wild. Though Dunn did not actually compete on Friday night, a host of boys were hoping to meet her after the meet. Olivia Dunn also asked her fans to please be respectful after they crowded outside the stadium following a meet. She said, and I quote, "If you come to a meet, I want to ask you to please be respectful of other gymnasts in the gymnastics community, as we were just doing our job." Now we're going to turn it back over to Grace.
Yeah, so that's kind of our segment today. We really wanted to talk about the drama between LSU and other people. I think that the drama, as though drama is necessarily a good thing, I think it definitely brings in a lot of people that may not normally play sports because they're just seeing this on social media. It catches a lot of people's attention. Like with the gymnasts and Angel Reese, some people don't even know who those people are until they get in those headlines of being famous and having beef with other people that you might know. So have a great day.
All right, there you go. There's Group 1. Nice work. Cascade High School takeover of the Rip City Drive. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon, my friends. We don't have to wait much longer for football because it's coming up on Friday. And that's a very good thing. I'm pumped for the weekend. Pac-12 title game on Friday. SEC title game on Saturday. Broncos trying to make it 6 straight on Sunday. That is a very, very good sports weekend. Very good. All right, we'll come back and we will continue with the Cascade High School takeover of the Rip City Drive. You're on 620 Rip City Radio. Rip City Radio is looking for photos of your children with Santa, not the smiling, successful photos, the other kind that you show your child melting down like a snowman in July. Submit your photo today at ripcityradio.com for your chance to win a
The Rip City Drive, brought to you by Lazy Boy. What's your strategy for comfort? Here on 620 Rip City Radio. Listen on your free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts.
Yeah, I'm not sure what convinced Michael Shacker to play Milli Vanilli, but he did.
There's a documentary on Paramount that came out recently about them.
Have you watched it?
Yeah.
Solid?
Yeah. It's entertaining, and I respect the band a little more, and I feel bad making all the jokes. Because I didn't like them when they were making hits, and then when they got in trouble for the, I guess you call it lip singing, stealing someone else's work,
Yeah.
and then calling it their own. They were just a butt of jokes, and I regret being mean to them. They were musicians. They knew what they were doing.
Ooh, 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 I love you. All right, we're continuing with our Cascade High School takeover of the Rip City Drive. And I was with their sports media class yesterday, and each group had a chance to record their own material that we were going to play back on the show. And I think they had a good time. Hard to tell sometimes with high schoolers because they were maybe a little bit nervous. I don't know. Who knows? But I'm glad they did it, and I was proud of them. Our next group, group of three, a trio, group two, consisting of Drew Comstock, Cooper Brackett, and Hudson Fast. And they decided to talk a little NBA, including the in-season tournament. So let's take a listen to what Group 2 came up with the NBA, and I think we start things off with Drew Comstock as the host.
Hey, I'm the host, Drew Comstock, and I'm here with Hudson Fast, Cooper Brackett, and we're going to be talking about the NBA, but we got to start with the NBA in-season tournament.
This is the first year of the NBA in-season tournament this year. It began earlier this month on November 3rd, and it goes up until December 9th. If you didn't know, the winner of the tournament gets $500,000.
There are 5 teams in each bracket of the tournament. The tournament drives the players to play games harder or more aggressive because they want that money prize of $500,000. The in-season tournament brought in multiple new courts that gave fans mixed signals since they were not used to seeing bright, colorful courts.
With the NBA in-season tournament, it brings a lot of different looks for fans and players. But Cooper, who do you feel like is going to win the NBA in-season tournament in the first year?
I got the Pacers coming out the East. They're 4-0 right now, haven't lost a game. Tyrese is playing his best game so far, 25-12. Miles Turner's putting up 17, almost 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks a game. Buddy and Benedict, they're putting up 13 a game. I think maybe see some more improvement out of them. Obi Toppin starting to blossom as well with 12. And Bruce Brown, leading the way in steals with almost 1.5 steals a game.
Cooper, do you think this is just a good indicator of if this Pacers team could make a deep playoff run though this year?
Yeah, I do believe so. They're 9-7 in the regular season so far, but they are putting up 128 points a game as a team. And, I believe that's a good indicator that their offense is starting to blossom and they can make a deep playoff run this year.
Yeah, obviously Tyrese Halliburton has been going insane this year with multiple 15-plus assist games, multiple 30-plus assist games. And I think just that young power is going to really drive this Indiana Pacers team. But Hudson, back to you. Who do you feel is going to win the NBA in-season tournament this year?
I got the Boston Celtics. It's kind of a basic pick, honestly, but the Boston Celtics are looking so strong this year. They're sitting at number 1 in the East right now. They're undefeated at home, 8-2 over the last 10, and their whole entire team is just super, super strong and a solid group of guys. Jason Tatum's leading their team with 28 points a game and having almost 9 rebounds. You got other solid guys working around him like Jaylen Brown, obviously, and Kristaps Porzingis. But, also you got a solid group of guys for defense, too, with Marcus Smart leaving this offseason. You got Drew Holiday coming in, working on the defensive side of the ball. And they're really coming in and proving that they're one of the best teams in the league right now, especially with them sitting at number 1 in the East, like I said. But, the Celtics are making a strong push this season, and I feel like they have a strong chance of winning the in-season tournament as well.
Do you feel like this team, though, could have a deep playoff run, or is this just they'll be pretty good in the regular season, kind of fall off towards the playoffs?
I feel like they really could make a push in the playoffs. I think, obviously, them sitting number one in the East right now is obviously kind of an early prediction for the rest of the season. But, you look at the other teams in the East, there are all a lot of solid teams in the East, obviously, but the Celtics are just really complete and have a really good chance, I feel like, going on all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals and probably, honestly, the Finals. They have a just solid group of guys, and they really could make a push.
Very nice, very nice. My pick, though, for the in-season tournament winner is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers. Even though they're off to like a 10-8 start right now throughout the regular season, they're 4-0 right now in the in-season tournament. And just with the LeBron James at age 38, almost 39, and how he's putting up almost 25 and 10 a game, with Anthony Davis, he can stay healthy. Those two are just can carry this team past like almost any team in the league right now. And they've just been playing the best basketball out of all the teams right now in their West A group, like the Suns, the Jazz. Right now, the Suns are 3-1, while the Jazz are 2-2. But the Lakers, yeah, their defense also just been very solid so far this year. And if, like I said, if AD can stay healthy, this team has a really good chance to go far in this tournament and even have a deep run in the playoffs. But while we're in the conversation of the playoffs, we got to jump to who do we believe is the best team in the association, though. Cooper, who do you think is the best team in the NBA right now? Even though it's kind of early in the season, but like, just give us your thoughts right now.
I'm gonna have to agree with Hudson here. I got the Celtics as well. They always find a way to win games, especially with the new pickups over the off season. Kristaps Porzingis putting up 19-7 and over a block a game. Drew Holiday was a great replacement for Marcus Smart. Obviously, Jason Tatum's doing his thing with 28, 9, and 4, and also over a steal a game. Brown doing the same thing, 21.4 points a game, and getting over a steal as well. Derek White finally stepping into his role. 14, 4, and 5 on 38% from 3. And Sam Hauser, a very unexpected pick there, shooting 44% from behind the arc this season. As long as they can find a way to fill in that defensive role and score more points, win games, I've got them winning the finals this year.
Yeah, obviously, they have deep playoff runs multiple years in a row. I think they're just like, maybe that piece was Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis this year, just to get them over that hump. But yeah, Hudson, who do you think is the best team in the league right now? Do you also have the Celtics, or do you have a different team?
I do, yeah. I'm going to stick with the Celtics. I mean, they're showing off really well early in the season. I feel like that's, as long as they continue to grow, I feel like it's only up from there, honestly. There's a lot of strong contenders in the East and obviously the West as well, with Timberwolves and the Nuggets and the Suns and multiple other teams. But the Celtics right now have been on a roll so far. Like I said, undefeated at home. They're 8-2 in the last 10. And if they keep that streak up, and just that their whole just streak up, and if they continue to do their thing, I feel they'll make a strong push in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, you did mention the Nuggets in your conversation just right there, and that's who I have in the best team in the NBA right now. Obviously, Jamal Murray's out right now due to a hamstring injury. He's been out for a few weeks now, which has led the Nuggets to be 12-6, losing a few games. A tough one to the Houston Rockets, who they probably should have beat, with Jokic dropping almost 50. But yeah, they obviously won the championship last year, and I think they're the most all-around team in the NBA with a very good bench. They got guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Reggie Jackson coming off the bench. Also, I think a key player for their team this year is going to be Christian Braun. Obviously, last year you saw him against the Heat, guarding Jimmy Butler, had a clutch player performance in that game, dropping like 15 points with 4 rebounds and just clutch defense against Jimmy Butler. And I think he's going to be a really key factor for them this year if they can just give him to kind of like involve his offense a little bit more with his 3-point shot, because obviously at Kansas he had a very good 3-point shot. So if they can just involve him, also with Julian Strawther, rookie out of Gonzaga, who can also like shoot the stripes off the ball, man. If they can just involve those two coming off the bench, they could be a very, very good team this year. But do you think the Nuggets and the Celtics, if they do both make it to the championship, do you think that's going to be a good, fun playoff series, or do you think it's going to be more one-sided for each team?
I feel like it'll be a good series. I feel like that is definitely a strong contention. I feel like is very possible for this to happen in the NBA Finals in the late May and early June season. And I feel like both of those teams are just so strong. Obviously, the Celtics making a push early in the season, and then even the Nuggets. I mean, they're only sitting at number 3 right now in the West, but they're 12-6 right now. Still a solid record, and they're undefeated at home right now. And I mean, once they get Jamal Murray back and they start evolving more throughout the season, I feel like they really have a strong push to make that a reality. And I feel that both of those teams would put up a really good series. What do you think,
Cooper? What do you think?
I think it would be a great series, maybe even go to a Game 7. Both teams are great at scoring the ball. Both teams have amazing offenses and their respective players with Jason Tatum and Nikola Jokic. Supporting players like Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Jamal Murray, Reggie Jackson, people who can put up numbers, people who can play defense. Both teams have their respective defenses, of course, but I will have the Celtics in a competitive back and forth series.
Yeah, I have the Nuggets winning only because of the bench, like I said earlier. I think it's like a 4-3 series. Nuggets take it to a game, or Celtics take it to a game 6. But I think just due to the Nuggets bench, they just get over that hump and just take down the Celtics. Like Jason Tatum, yeah, will have like 30, 40 points, probably like each game of the playoffs, with Jaylen Brown averaging another 25 probably. But I just think with the likes of like having Aaron Gordon be able to guard any of those guys, though, Reggie Jackson, like I said, Jamal Murray coming back, I think this Nuggets team will just be able to get over the hump and just go back to back in the championships. Who's like a key role guy you think for each team though that's gonna have to perform pretty well for the Celtics, Cooper?
I'm gonna have to say someone like Peyton Pritchard or Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser is shooting very efficient right now, and he may not be able to put up good numbers, but I think if they're able to rely on him for those needed shots or needing points, I think he can be that guy. Peyton Pritchard, I think, is a great playmaker, great ball handler, and I think he could step up great in this series or in the finals.
Yeah, Hudson, what do you think? You got the same guys, or you got just a different player?
I have two similar guys, yeah. And obviously, I think Derek White, too. I mean, he's a fourth leading scorer on the Celtics right now, but, I mean, he's a solid player for the Celtics, and I feel like if he continues to play his role for the team, I feel like they have a really strong push. Obviously, people like Cooper mentioned, and obviously, I mean, other people like Al Horford, he's only averaging like 6 a game, but has like 25 minutes a game. And the whole group could do, obviously, everyone can grow, and everyone can play their best piece of basketball, but I feel like there's a lot of guys that could really have a contention of being that key role player, and I feel like all the guys have a chance at that.
Mm-hmm. My guy, though, for the Denver Nuggets is going to be Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Obviously, he played with the Lakers a few seasons back, won a championship, but this guy this postseason gonna have to like really be able to just shoot the ball better. 6'5" guard, but if he can just shoot the ball and like defend at the level he is right now, this guy's gonna be a key guy that they can just rely on to go sit in the corner and just knock down and through when they need one, and then put up another 15 probably each game, 10 to 15 each game, and that's just who my sleeper pick is for this Denver Nuggets team. Is there a team though you think that could sneak into the playoffs that no one's really been talking about though, Cooper?
I'm gonna have to say the Clippers. They're 7-9 right now, but they're probably one of the best defending teams in the league. They got PG-13, Kawhi with over 2 steals a game, Harden with almost 1.5, Zubac with 1.3 blocks, and Bones Highland off the bench with over a steal a game. PG is doing his thing, putting up 24-6. Kawhi's been putting up a solid 21. Harden, said himself he doesn't fit the system yet, but he's still putting up 14, 5, and 6 a game with also 1.5 steals. I think he could grow into the system. They could figure it out, and they could win games. I think Man coming off the bench, he's only putting up 5.4, but I could see him doing even more over the year, over the season. Even someone like Rocco, I think he's a very efficient player at all 3 levels, and I think he could come back into that role. And obviously Westbrook himself with 12, 6.5, and 5 with also 1.5 steal a game. I think Westbrook should play more minutes off the bench and can do more off the bench as well.
Yeah, obviously that Clippers team has struggled early, risking James Harden going 0-6 to start that new era. But yeah, I think this Clippers team could really sneak in the playoffs. They can just all gel together and just find a way to just involve PG, Kawhi, and Harden, with Bones Highland obviously coming off the bench, who's a great scoring guard. But Hudson, who do you have like a team that's like a sleeper pick that no one's really been talking about though?
I think the Clippers are a great team, but I got the Sacramento Kings, honestly. They're number 6 right now in the West. They're 9-6, and I mean last year obviously they got knocked out in the first round. They were sitting in number 3 seed, got knocked out by the Warriors. But I feel like the Kings could really come up throughout the season. I feel like they can continue to grow and climb the ranks of the Western Conference. De'Aaron Fox obviously is their leading scorer with just under 30 points. Domantas Sabonis is doing his thing. He's averaging about 20, 12, and 7. Just great numbers. He's played all games this season so far. Then you got other guys like Malik Monk, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, a lot of key guys that could really help this team out. And this is a really solid group of guys. Obviously, you got the 2 All-Stars with Fox and Sabonis, and if they throughout the season they continue to grow, I feel like this team could really make a push in the West. Clippers obviously have done a great job, or not a great job so far this season, but I feel like they could obviously grow out throughout the season as well. I feel like there's a lot of teams in contention, but I feel like the Kings really can do their thing this season and be a true dark horse in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, the Kings, man, last year made the playoffs for the first time in I don't even know how long. But Yeah, they got bounced out though in a tough series against Golden State. But yeah, this team looked really good, very good last year. Off to kind of a decent start this year, but I think towards the end of the year they'll really pick it up, and then they could be like a really, really solid team that not a lot of teams are going to want to face in the playoffs. But my team for this year is going to be the Pelicans, man. They got Zion Williamson, who's just recently in an interview said he's just trying to buy in right now after a little tough start for him and the team. But he is averaging 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. And he's just very injury prone, so I really don't know what's on right now. But he has been staying relatively healthy so far this season. Another guy for them is going to be Brandon Ingram, who's averaging 24 a game, 5 assists, and shooting barely 30% from the three-point line, but he's shooting very well from the field with 50%. If these two can really just like get to their spots, and like Brandon Ingram, very very solid in the mid-range. If you can just get to his spots and put up like 24 a game, 25 a game, this team with Alexis Zion and CJ McCollum could have a deep run in the playoffs, just with their defense too, with Zion being in the paint, with guys like Herbert Jones, Larry Nance Jr., and Najee Marshall, all very good defensive guys. This team could just take it to another level come playoff time, come May. And yeah, but also Jordan Hawkins, their rookie, averaging 13 a game, right now 4th in the rookie ladder, has been really solid this year, shooting about 40% from the field with 38% from three-point range. Obviously at UConn, this guy could shoot the lights off the ball. Just very silky stroke, but that's just my team for this year's playoffs. That could have a deep run, and just not like guys are talking about. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Drew.
I'm Hudson Fast.
And I'm Cooper Brackett.
We'll see you guys next time.
All right. We'll keep things rolling here on the show. When we come back, we're going to finish the Cascade High School takeover of the Rip City Drive. Appreciate your time today. Michael Shacker's here. I am here. I'm just pumped for Friday. Give me the football, please. Can we get that? And Blazers in action tomorrow. Game day at 1:30. Tip-off is at 4. They're in Cleveland to meet the Cavs, coming off the win over Indiana. Rip City Radio and Holt Homes want to pay your mortgage or rent in 2024. Went up to $18,000 to help offset those monthly
wanted this game to be played and enjoyed by even non-athletes and older adults, rather than be confined to younger athletes who were enjoying basketball at the time. It became popular and was played throughout the U.S., Canada, and the Philippines, and even reached the continent of Europe during World War I. Now in modern day, volleyball is the 5th most popular sport, and overall, these years of volleyball being played, the rules have been officially changed in many ways. Now people all over the world are enjoying playing the sport they love, volleyball. Volleyball is a sport with rotations, each point earned. There are several different kinds of layouts you can do for a game, such as a 5-1 or a 4-2. You can use against other team, which is basically where a 5-1 is you have 5 hitters and 1 setter, and a 4-2 is where you have 4 hitters and 2 setters, usually setting from the back row. A rotation occurs after every side out, which is when the receiving team gains the right to serve by winning a rally. So basically, if you are the receiving team and you win the point, or the serving team commits an unforced error, the players are required to rotate and the service switched. To further explain, 6 players are on the court, 3 front row and 3 back row. The positions are named by their place on the court, but these positions are not to be confused with the position they play, such as setter, middle blocker, outside hitter, opposite, or libero.
Switching up topics, Kate will be talking about soccer, specifically the success of the United States women's national team, different ways to line up, and offsides. Offsides is one of the most common rules in soccer that players are constantly being fouled on. Many players do not understand it even after a long time, however it is easy to understand. Offsides is when a player is past the other team's defense, even by an inch. If any part of their body that can score a goal is past the opposing team's defense, they're considered offsides. Some players can be considered not offsides even if they are past the opposing team's defense. They can be far enough away, which is decided by the official. It can be called passively offside. Another acceptable position is on corner kicks. If a player receives the ball directly from a corner kick, that player cannot be offsides. The same is true for throw-ins and goal kicks. The team is most successful in international women's soccer. They've won 4 Women's World Cup titles in 1991, 1999, 2015, and most recently 2019. They've also won 4 Olympic gold medals in 1996, 2004, 2008, and 2012. They've won 9 CONCACAF Gold Cups. They medaled in every Women's World Cup and Olympic tournament in women's soccer except for the 2016 Olympic tournament and this year's 2023 Women's World Cup. On both occasions, they were eliminated by Sweden after a penalty shootout. After mostly being ranked number 2 from 2003 to 2008 in the FIFA Women's World Rankings, the team was ranked number 1 continuously from March 2008 to November 2014, the longest consecutive top ranking of any team. Since FIFA rankings were established in 2003, it has been ranked number 1 for a total of 13 years. The second longest tendered team to be ranked number 1. Germany's been there for a total of 4.5 years. The United States women's national team has never been ranked lower than 3rd in the world. In soccer, there are many ways to explain the different names of positions. You can describe them by their actual name or more simply by numbers. It takes a while for most players to memorize these positions. However, once you have them down, it is a lot easier to communicate. These positions are 1. Goalkeeper, 2 and 3 left and right backs, playing defense, 4 and 5 also defense, are sweeper and center back, 6 is a defensive midfielder, 7 and 8 are also midfielders called wingers playing on the sides, number 8 is a central midfielder, 9 is a striker, and 10 is a central attacking midfielder. Next up, Addie will be talking about how and where soccer started, the World Cup, and the most popular players.
Soccer is the most popular sport for a plethora of reasons, but mostly because it is for anyone. Invented in England, 1863, soccer was an elitist sport for the wealthiest individuals, yet it soon became a game for everyone. No matter their race, religion, gender, socioeconomic status, language, or age, anybody was welcome. More than 240 million people around the world play soccer regularly. The game was evolved from the sport of kicking an animal hide ball around into the World Cup game sport it is today. Records trace the history of soccer back more than 2,000 years ago to ancient China, Greece, and Rome and parts of Central America also claim to have started the sport, but it was England that transitioned soccer, or what the British and many other people around the world call football, into the game we know today. The English are credited with recording the first uniform rules for the sport, including forbidding tripping opponents and touching the ball with their hands. As the sport developed, more rules implemented and more historical landmarks were set. For example, the penalty kick was introduced in 1891, FIFA became a member of the International Football Association Board of Great Britain in 1913. Red and yellow cards were introduced during the 1970 World Cup finals.
More recent major changes include goalkeepers being banned from handling deliberate back passes in 1992 and tackles from behind becoming red card penalties in 1998. The first World Cup was in 1930. The World Cup was the most watched event on television, even overshadowing the Olympics. According to the World Cup facts, approximately 1 out of every 9 people on Earth watched 2006 World Cup final match. The tournament currently sees 32 teams competing for the top spot. In 2010, 204 teams entered to qualify for the world's most popular sporting event. Brazil has won the most World Cups of any country. Brazil has the distinction of being the only country to play in every World Cup tournament since the competition's inception. Brazil has hosted the World Cup twice and has made remarkable contributions to soccer history. Brazil has finished in the top 4 11 times. The Second World War meant there was no World Cup in 1942 or 1946. The fastest ever World Cup goal was under 11 seconds into a match. Ronaldo was the first man to score at 5 different World Cups. Ronaldo is a Portuguese soccer player. He plays forward with the world's highest transfer fee. And Alex Morgan is a part of the United States women's national team. She's a striker and she's a captain of San Diego Wave FC.
Perfect. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Big thanks to Justin Louder and the students at Cascade High School for joining the show today. For Michael Shacker, I'm Chad Doing. We'll catch you tomorrow. Game day at 1:30. Tip-off Blazers and Cavs from Cleveland at 4 o'clock here on 620 Rip City Radio.